We believe these two victims were shot indiscriminately. One person is dead, and the other has had their life altered forever.
Senseless and scary. Two random shootings, two random victims struck indiscriminately less than 24 hours apart, both while waiting for the bus. Good evening. A father of four killed. A teenager on his way to play volleyball seriously hurt, just going about their business. The violence is hard to comprehend. And the concern only climbing for people across this city with each hour that goes by without an arrest. We begin our coverage with CTV's Beth McDonnell. Beth.
Nathan, Toronto police say both victims are completely innocent. While they believe the shootings are connected, they say the victims have no relation to each other or the shooter. This is the man Toronto police are looking to find. He's believed to be between 18 and 25. Surveillance images showing him in a black coat, a white hoodie with a face covering and possibly a surgical mask. In both cases, police believe he got out of this stolen black Acura RDX before firing.
We believe these two victims were shot indiscriminately. One person is dead, and the other has had their life altered forever.
Walking by a bus stop on Jane Saturday afternoon, 39-year-old Adu Boache was gunned down and killed. He came from Ghana in November to support his family, leaving behind a wife and 4 children.
Mr. Boache was innocently going about his business.
Less than 24 hours earlier, a 16-year-old was shot in the face at this Driftwood bus stop. An avid sports player, police say he was on his way to play volleyball. Police say his mother is traumatized, but thankful he's alive.
It's really important to emphasize both of the victims were enjoying this community. Nothing in our investigation has shown that they are in any way affiliated to a gang or anything of that nature. They were completely and utterly innocent.
As homicide investigators work to track down the suspect, many are asking why. It's not clear yet if anyone else was involved, and there are questions whether the shootings could involve gang initiation.
And we believe the two shootings are connected.
Whether that violence could be gang-related, we're alive to that, and that is a possibility. All those things are going to come forward as we unpack this.
Officers are vowing to keep the command post and be a presence in the Jane Driftwood community for an extended time.
We're here for your safety. We take these incidents very seriously.
Anxious to speak with anyone who has information about the Acura RDX or their suspect. Despite the face covering on the suspect, police believe there are people who will recognize the man. As for the Acura RDX, that black vehicle, police say it was stolen from the Toronto area and found in Hamilton. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Back to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Beth. And these revelations are being met with horror by those who live in the area. CTV's Janice Golding is hearing from some of those people. Janice.
Hi, Michelle. Yes, we've been speaking to residents in the area today, and I can tell you that absolutely every single person that we spoke to was shaken by what has happened in their community. This North York neighborhood is densely populated with apartment buildings, a middle school, and a community center at its heart. And people who live here say it's hard to fathom that two people just like them were shot while going about their days.
I feel uncomfortable now. I feel unsafe, but hopefully everything's going good.
It's very hard to live here right now, right? Because before it wasn't like that, but it looks scary now.
That particular area is run by a lot of young gangsters. So these guys got their own stuff running. So people just walking, taking the buses, they could accidentally get a bullet.
A 16-year-old who was shot in the face remains in hospital. A 39-year-old man shot multiple times would succumb to his injuries. Both shot within 24 hours of one another, just waiting for a bus.
Anytime I'm going out, so I used to be scared now. Because nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow, but I pray.
There's a lot of police cars every day here, police visibility, so we're a little bit secured maybe, so.
Police have deployed additional foot patrols in the neighborhood and set up a command post near Jane and Driftwood north of Finch to try to reassure those who live in the area. Meanwhile, support workers have also been available to community members to help them process what happened. Now, police recovered a suspect vehicle, which was reported stolen in Hamilton. But as Beth reported earlier, they are still looking for the suspect, who's described as a male between 18 and 25 years of age with a thin build. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Nathan.
All right. Thank you, Janice. Elsewhere, a man is fighting for his life in hospital tonight, injured in a stabbing in Brampton. This happened just before 1:30 this afternoon at a business near Main and Queen. Police tell us the man was rushed to a trauma center with life-threatening injuries. No weapon was found at the scene, and police have not provided any details about possible suspects.
Straight ahead, a celebratory trip turns into the complete opposite for a Mississauga couple stranded in Turks and Caicos. Their passports stolen during a break-in at their rental property. How they're trying to get home in just a few minutes. After a 10-week winter break, it's back to business at Queen's Park. Provincial politicians returning to the legislature. The
Ford government promising to, quote, get it done. But the PCs have a new opponent to contend with. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris is live with more. Siobhan.
Liberal leader Bonnie Crombie was trying to make some noise here at Queen's Park, even though she doesn't have a seat. But she continues to be dogged with questions about her stance on a carbon tax.
First order of business is a suite of measures intended to push development into high gear.
The Get It Done Act will allow Ontario to accelerate construction of transit, housing, and infrastructure projects that we need to support our growing population.
The government says this will also make life more affordable, banning tolls on provincially controlled highways, forcing a referendum for any future carbon tax, and freezing the cost to renew photo ID cards. But there's concern about watering down environmental protection.
The Get It Done Wrong Act is actually going to do something I didn't think the Ford government could do, is actually make the Environmental Assessment Act even worse.
This bill also includes a reversal of a reversal, reinstating some urban boundary changes to build housing after talking with municipal leaders.
They have made the decisions on what parts of it that they want to retain and what parts they're not happy with. So this will reflect those consultations.
The opposition leader thinks it's all a distraction from government mistakes.
They're going to spend more time reversing their own legislation than taking the actions that would make life better for the people of Ontario.
Addressing a shortage of housing and primary care physicians.
My doctor went to a clinic that's charging almost $5,000 a year in annual fees for patients to receive care.
The Premier counters that the province is on solid footing.
We are an economic powerhouse now because of our policies. $28 billion of EV investments, $20 billion of tech, life sciences $3 billion.
She doesn't have a seat at Queen's Park, but Bonnie Crombie was in the mix as MPPs returned. A week after the Premier called the Liberal leader the queen of the carbon tax.
I'm queen of the people's hearts.
Crombie isn't ready to lay out whether she'd entertain carbon pricing as Premier.
We have to consult our members. We want to consult scientists and stakeholders, and we will bring forward a very comprehensive plan that will cost taxpayers money.
And address the climate crisis.
Bonnie Crombie says she's still considering running in Milton in the upcoming by-election. She says she'll make a decision soon. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan, back to you.
All right, thank you, Siobhan. Also tonight, labeling problem pets. The debate at Toronto City Hall. Is it enough to fend off future attacks?
But first, the sun has set on what was a beautiful, bright and sunny February day. Clear sky, not too cold. And if you like it a tad warmer, you'll be happy to see what we're in for tomorrow. Michelle Jobin is here with a look at the current conditions. Not too bad, Michelle.
Not too bad at all, Michelle. Of course, for the holiday long weekend, we did have colder conditions, though nice and sunny ones. Great for getting outdoors. And today also, even with the milder temperatures, a great day for winter activities, or for those of us that just had to travel back and forth to work and school, because we've got those clear conditions out there, dry conditions on the roads. That is going to change a little bit in the next little while, but we are going to get milder. Winds right now sustained at 9 kilometers an hour out of the east. They'll be out of the south tomorrow, and that's going to help to push our temperature up a bit more. We're at 1 degree after reaching a high of +3 today, -2, feeling like -4 through the overnight period. I'll let you know how mild things will get coming up. Back to you, Michelle.
Thank you. Next to the fallout from a CTV News investigation, several Toronto councillors now saying the city's police force needs to do more to explain the volume of automated speeding and red light tickets given to its vehicles.
Those tickets uncovered by CTV News. And as John Woodward reports, one councillor started asking her own questions.
Well, I want to get to the bottom of that.
Councillor Paula Fletcher says she's flummoxed at the number of tickets issued by automated speed and red light cameras to police vehicles, stacks of them obtained by CTV News through a Freedom of Information request. Some tickets appear to include snapshots of emergencies in progress when police are allowed to legally break traffic rules. Others, like these ones with parking enforcement cars, not so much.
I don't see why the public should pay for sloppy driving or speeding, because nobody pays for my ticket.
City data shows in 26 months, the police force was given 1,038 speeding tickets and 164 red light tickets.
Toronto police tell us they asked their officers to justify the ticket, and if they can't, they could get their pay docked. But when we asked them how often that happens and how many tickets have no lawful excuse, they couldn't say.
I cannot think of any excuse for a parking enforcement vehicle breaking the law.
Councillor Diane Sachs said after she saw the story, she phoned 52 Division to ask about why her ward had the most tickets issued to police vehicles in any spot on Beverly and Darcy streets.
From what the police tell me, almost all of the tickets issued in my ward at Beverly and Darcy were issued to police officers who were in the course of their duties accelerating in order to catch offenders. They've told me that there's a very high priority because of the schools that are located right there.
The 75 cameras have also caught buses and city trucks and prompted new measures to track possible problem drivers in those departments. Sachs pushing for more cameras to slow down speeding drivers and a faster administrative program to speed up the paperwork. And Fletcher saying the tickets to police are a good sign.
Police machines are working really, really well.
Because they ticket every car that breaks the rules, even if the driver is a police officer. John Woodward, CTV News.
A stubborn blaze for fire crews north of Whitby today. The flames breaking out this afternoon at a home near Center Street and Baldwin in Brooklyn. Investigators have not confirmed whether anyone was hurt, and the cause is not yet known. A Mississauga couple is demanding answers and assistance, a theft leaving them trapped in Turks and Caicos.
Robbers making off with their passports with no replacements from the Canadian government. CTV's Raheem Ladani reports.
Stepping on broken glass as she approached her window in Turks and Caicos, Jessica Botello quickly realized her rental property had been broken into.
At that point, you don't know if somebody is still in the unit with you, right? And so a little bit of panic.
Botello and her partner, David Pereira, had landed in the islands the day before on February 10th. They, along with 26 family members, were celebrating her mother's 70th and aunt's 60th birthdays. The thieves took off with cash, a phone, and other valuables. Among them, both of their Canadian passports.
I had my passport in there, obviously, SIM card, which shouldn't have been on vacation. It's just credit cards and all my cash.
After reporting the theft to local police, the Mississauga couple reached out to the Canadian consulate. They paid out of pocket for new passport photos and courier fees to send the documents to Canada's closest High Commission office, which is in Kingston, Jamaica. Now, more than 9 days later, their family have gone home while they're still stranded.
We're not considered an emergency, so we can be put on the back burner. And when our documents arrived there on the Friday, they weren't even looked at. So
no.
I mean, that just tells you right there.
Global Affairs Canada tells CTV News it is providing consular services to 2 Canadian citizens in the Turks and Caicos Islands. Due to privacy considerations, no further information can be disclosed. Please note that the safety and security of Canadians abroad is Canada's top priority. On Tuesday, Botello and Pereira were told their passports are ready to be shipped out from Jamaica, but they've yet to receive them.
There should be technology in place to verify an individual, and within 24 to 48 hours, you would hope, a document produced to simply allow them to board a plane and get home.
The extra expenses, including the value of their stolen goods, total north of $8,000, plus the emotional anxiety they're dealing with since the break-in.
Being concerned when you see a car following you down a dark road to finding the machete on property for the gardeners.
With the wait to return home growing longer. Raheem Ladani, CTV News, Toronto.
Belleville has asked Queen's Park for financial assistance after a state of emergency was declared following a series of drug overdoses. Today, the mayor said the city cannot wait any longer.
When I hear the term of the money's not available,
Maybe we'll look in the next budget. We don't have funds for this. It means, is that a polite yes or no? And Minister Smith, we toured the facility, as I say, on Sunday. He's not optimistic. He says he's still trying, but we don't have that time. We need to get the hub open as soon as possible, get wraparound services there, and then we have to look for housing.
Belleville has requested the provincial government help fund a new social and health care services hub and a detox center. But so far, there's been no money. This afternoon, the mayor said City Council will be asked to consider allocating $2 million in the operating budget, the same amount that was asked of the province. First responders were called to 17 overdoses in just 24 hours earlier this month.
In BC, the RCMP is recommending criminal charges be considered in the deadly collapse of a crane. 4 men on the site and a 5th man in a neighboring building were killed. The crane was being dismantled when it fell in June of 2021. Investigators say a report's been submitted to the BC Prosecution Service for a charge assessment of criminal negligence causing death. The collapse spawned a number of lawsuits involving Stemmer Construction, the operator of the crane, and multiple divisions of the Liebherr Corporation that manufactured the heavy equipment.
In Kansas City, 2 men have been charged with murder following last week's shooting after the Super Bowl parade and rally.
And the evidence does not reflect in these early moments that there was any prior history between these individuals, Mays and the individual he was in some kind of verbal dispute with.
A woman was killed. 22 other people were injured. Prosecutors say Lindell Mays and Dominic M. Miller have been hospitalized since the shooting, but are now charged with second-degree murder and other charges. Court records indicate a verbal altercation escalated into gunfire, and innocent bystanders were struck.
Alberta has declared an early start to this year's wildfire season.
As of today, a permit is required for any burning planned in a forest protection area. This will allow Alberta's government to better manage wildfire risks and increase the level of protection in these areas, which will reduce the likelihood of new human-caused wildfires.
Officials say an early start will allow them to better direct firefighting resources. There's also a request for funding in the budget to add 100 firefighters this season. Alberta is seeing warmer than normal temperatures and below average precipitation.
The U.S. says it will impose additional major sanctions on Russia following the death of Alexei Navalny. They will target the country's defense industrial base and sources of revenue for the economy. The mother of the late opposition leader placed flowers at a memorial devoted to political prisoners. Lyudmila Navalnaya also appealed today to Russia's president to intervene and release her son's body so she can bury him with dignity. Moscow says the cause of Navalny's death is still unknown and refuses to release his body for the next 2 weeks as a preliminary inquest continues. Navalny died last week at an Arctic penal colony.
In the Middle East, the World Food Program has paused deliveries to northern Gaza because of increasing chaos across the territory. The move is heightening fears of potential starvation.
That alarming development today as the U.S. vetoed a UN Security Council resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in the war. CTV's Adrian Gobriel reports.
Smoke rises as fresh Israeli airstrikes hit what the IDF has called multiple Hezbollah military positions. Though on the ground in southern Lebanon, the owner of this warehouse where 14 people were injured tells a different story, saying this is a company registered for 11 years that works with electricity generators and their maintenance, going on to allege that there is nothing hidden here. The claim that this has weapons is a lie. Fanning the flames of a wider conflict has been a concern in the region and across the world since the October 7th attack by Hamas.
Those against?
Today, the United States blocked a UN Security Council resolution that called for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire, as the U.S. argued for their own temporary ceasefire proposal on the condition all hostages held by Hamas are released, while warning Israel against a ground assault in the southern border city of Rafah.
Demanding an immediate, unconditional ceasefire without an agreement requiring Hamas to release the hostages will not bring about a durable peace.
The U.S. is arguing that an immediate ceasefire would jeopardize talks they're having with Egypt, Qatar, and Israel to broker a pause in the war. Aid agencies are warning that more people will die in Gaza if diplomacy continues to fail.
The children of Gaza cannot afford to wait a day any longer. And this news comes as we hear that the death toll of children in Gaza has now surpassed 12,400.
Please be seated. The controversy at the United Nations comes as the UN's top court began day 2 of a hearing that is probing Israel's historic handling of the Palestinian territories.
Wherever the egregious and offensive practices of apartheid occur, these must be called out for what they are and brought to an immediate end.
52 countries are scheduled to present decades of evidence to the International Court of Justice this week, with the majority arguing that Palestinians in the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem continue to live under Israeli occupation. Canada has declined to speak at the ICJ hearing, citing concerns that any opinion shared by the court could lead to further polarization and hinder any chance of peace in the region. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Toronto.
Authorities in Canada and elsewhere have dealt a major blow to a cybercrime gang that attacked Toronto's Hospital for Sick Children just over a year ago.
The actors affiliated with the Lockbit criminal enterprise have caused significant harm to thousands of victims across our collective countries and around the globe. In recent years, the group has been indiscriminate in their targeting, exploiting organizations affiliated with government agencies, hospitals, schools, to high-profile global companies. It seems nobody has been immune to their attacks until now.
The Lockbit ransomware gang has been described as the most active and destructive group of its kind. Now, the U.S. has charged 2 Russian nationals with deploying ransomware against companies and groups around the world. Websites used by the syndicate have also been seized. Lockbit has targeted more than 2,000 victims, received more than $120 million in ransom payments, and caused billions in damages. The takedown was an international effort by 10 countries, led by the UK's National Crime Agency and the FBI.
To Toronto City Hall next, and taking steps to protect the public, and a warning about some of the footage in this next story.
A proposal to create an official registry of dangerous dogs passing its first hurdle. CTV's Sean Leathong is live with more. Sean.
Michelle and Nathan, the idea being that if a dog had attacked people in your neighborhood, would you want to know? That's what these changes are going to do, and they're going to put accountability on the dog owners. When she was mauled by a dog back in the summer, Cara Vanderlaan was left with bite marks and bruises.
We were just yelling, help me, call 911. Sorry. Because the dog just kept attacking.
She later learned the dog that attacked her had previously been designated as a dangerous dog by the city. Speaking to committee today, Vanderlaan was asking questions about proposed new rules to protect from dangerous dogs.
How are you ensuring compliance? How often is somebody ensuring compliance? How are you making sure that this type of thing doesn't happen again?
The motion adopted today by the Economic and Community Development Committee is meant to step up enforcement of dangerous dogs and owners.
The owner needs to know we're not fooling around here. You own your dog, you love your dog, but your dog can't act like that.
Of the city's 300,000 dogs, 500 are designated dangerous. The designations come from a tribunal after a specific incident like biting. Councillor Paula Fletcher says these new rules focus on those dogs.
The city is now preparing a signage that there's a dangerous dog.
This is a draft version of a sign that will have to be clearly posted by the dog's owners. Owners will also have to go through education, and the city will be creating a public list that includes the dog's breed, their color, their address, and the date of the dangerous act. There will also be increased checks from bylaw.
And also that just puts pressure on the owner. It's not just beware of dog, it is, oh, I'm under a dangerous dog order, and here's the requirements for me: muzzle, leash, license, all these kinds of things. And if you're not living up to it, believe me, the public will be calling in.
While Councillor Fletcher says these rules will move the needle on dog safety, Cara Vanderlaan says the committee report does not go far enough to prevent maulings like the ones she experienced.
One of the dogs that had attacked me was already designated as a dangerous dog, had bit multiple people, leading to hospitalization of one of those people, and had multiple 311 calls already made on this dog.
The dog that attacked Vanderlaan has since been euthanized. The recommended report will go to council in March. Now, you heard the concern from Cara Vanderland there about the execution, and that's what this really comes down to. She was saying that these changes are well and good, but if they aren't executed properly, then nothing could change. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. I'll send it back inside.
Thank you, Sean. Believe it or not, gridlock is about to get worse in Toronto.
Construction on King Street West near Liberty Village, meaning there will only be one lane of traffic for several blocks. At King and Dufferin, it's a painful journey getting just about anywhere for Shazaya Mawani.
I'm tired of driving. I'm tired of taking transit. I'm just tired of traffic all the time. It's supposed to take me over an hour just to get to College and Bay from here. Yeah, and I don't know where the bus is, and I don't know where the streetcar is.
Starting today, the city's replacing a 146-year-old water main and aging streetcar tracks between Shaw and Dufferin along King West. The construction is expected to continue for the next 10 months.
TTC doesn't always do the best job of letting you know exactly what it's doing and when it's doing it, and so you don't always know. So there's construction, and then the TTC also will just kick you off at times, and there's just all sorts of issues with that on top of there being construction.
The water main work will take place Monday to Friday from 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening until the end of July, with crews keeping just one lane of traffic open in each direction.
We barely drive. We take TTC when we can, so we're just doing a couple errands today.
Streetcar track work will be rolling in phases and is expected to start in May. It will take place 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
It'll affect me, but if they're going to improve the TTC, that's fine with me.
The TTC says it's working to communicate all the changes affecting tens of thousands of commuters.
We absolutely understand the frustration. Certainly for us, there's a lot of work that goes into rerouting. I mean, you look at the routes that are impacted here, the Ossington route, King, Queen streetcars. These are all routes that we have to reroute to help our customers get around and through the system. But it's important work. It needs to be done.
From October to December, there'll be intermittent closures for roadwork and overhead streetcar work.
It's a hub for action and excitement in our city, one of the biggest venues around for fun, and it's been around for 25 years now. Coming up, Scotiabank Arena celebrates a quarter century of existence by opening its doors to fans.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, if you do the groceries, you know how expensive food has become. If you're trying to save money at the meat counter, you may have noticed ungraded beef from Mexico. What is it, and should you have concerns about buying it? We check it out. That story is just ahead.
A mild day so far, even milder air working its way into the forecast for the next couple of days, but then a change, much colder air by the time we get to the weekend. I'll tell you how cold coming up, and stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
About 80% of the beef sold in Canada is raised by Canadian farmers, with about 20% imported from other countries.
Recently, there's been concern on social media regarding ungraded beef from Mexico, with some shoppers not sure what that even means. Pat Foran finds out for us on Consumer Alert. Pat.
Nathan and Michelle, meat prices are very high right now, and some stores are now importing more beef from Mexico. It's labeled ungraded beef, and while officials say it's safe to eat, when it comes to quality, it's not clear exactly what you're getting. With the high price of groceries, more consumers are skipping the meat aisle, but now they may have a chance to buy cuts of beef that could be slightly less expensive. However, on social media, some shoppers are concerned and posting photos of ungraded Mexican beef, wondering exactly what it is.
Essentially, you're looking at a product that is safe to eat. It is edible, but you don't necessarily know what you're getting, really, from a quality perspective.
Canada Beef says some retailers are importing Mexican beef because it may be cheaper than Canadian meat products. It says that grading is a quality indicator and does not measure food safety. But when you buy beef produced in Canada, the grading system gives you a better idea of what you're getting.
The highest grade is Canada Prime, followed by Canada AAA and Canada AA.
Beef from Mexico may also have a different taste and texture because of the type of livestock used to produce beef.
In Canada, we use primarily European cattle genetics, which are very well known for their beef quality and taste. As you go further south, you have to use other types of cattle to manage the heat.
Sylvain Charlebois says when meat is ungraded, it could be of a lower quality.
Typically, ungraded beef from Mexico would come from older bulls or cows.
CTV News reached out to Loblaws, and a spokesperson said all imported fresh meat, including beef, is inspected and approved by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and that countries outside of North America often use a different grading system, which is why it is labeled in Canada as ungraded, but it is always quality beef. Charlebois says as grocers try to keep prices down at the meat counter, you can expect to see more Mexican beef on store shelves. And it's a good idea to pay attention to food labels, especially when you're buying meat products. You could find Canadian beef that costs about the same as ungraded beef, which may help your buying decisions. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Right to the forecast, a pretty good day, a lot of sunshine. It looks like we're going to get a bit of a warm-up, too.
I feel as though tomorrow is the day to watch of the week, where it'll really be above seasonal.
And that should actually carry over into Thursday as well. But today, very pleasant, lots of sunshine. It was a little bit cooler over the weekend, but still a great day to get outside today for any of those winter activities, as I mentioned. So if you're looking for the milder air, it is on the way. And I'm going to tell you how this all plays out. Weather is brought to you by Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a Trane. So we did reach a high of 3 degrees earlier today at Pearson Airport and also downtown. We are looking at 1 degree right now as we head into the evening. So still really mild air out there. If you have anything to do this evening, it's a good night to maybe to go out for a walk. Because we don't have much in terms of wind chill right now. So we're, seasonably mild, I would say. As we look around the region, we did get sort of starting to get the mid to upper single digits in southwestern Ontario, and that is heralding what is on the way. System moving in tomorrow that will start to bring us some rainfall. But once we're in between the warm and the cold front, we're going to be prone to some warmer air. Satellite and radar imagery right now showing us mainly clear skies for the most part throughout the region. A little bit more cloud cover here, arcing over through the Muskoka region over towards the Ottawa area. And we're looking at our overnight lows, they're staying mild. Normally at this time of the year, -8 for a low in the city of Toronto, -2 is what we're looking at Pearson Airport. Feeling like -4. Winds still quite light through the overnight period. They've been mostly out of the east today. They've been very light today. They're going to be shifting a little bit more to be more out of the south tomorrow. I would say around 20 kilometers an hour sustained, not out of the question. So a little bit breezy at times, but we are looking at a high eventually of 7 degrees. Now we'll start out with more sunshine and more cloud cover will work its way into the picture later on. And if you're north of the city of Toronto, adjacent to the upper Great Lakes, these are areas that you're very likely to see that shower activity first. So there you go, that warm front dipping in. We get those showers with them. We also get that influx of warmer air in behind the warm front. In behind the cold front, a very different story, and I'll show you that coming up. So putting our forecast radar in motion, sunshine in the morning, more cloud in the afternoon, some spotty showers as we get later on in the afternoon, a little bit more sustained, but this is not a lot of rain. It's maximum 5 millimeters, if that. And then we get some more showers as we get into the evening tomorrow night. Spotty in nature through the overnight period. Some clearing Thursday morning, but still a bit of cloud cover. And then we get this area just along the lower Great Lakes extending down in towards southwestern Ontario over towards Sarnia. But we get more showers in the afternoon on Thursday. It's after Thursday that everything changes. We get the passage of that cold front. Temperature drops like a stone. So 7 for the next 2 days. Overnight lows are quite mild. We get those showers Wednesday night into Thursday. And then Friday, starting out at 2 degrees. That's our overnight low into Friday. And then we drop to -14 with flurries. Still cold for Saturday, but then the temperature rebounds to more spring-like conditions after that. Back to you, Nathan.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. Also tonight, news sure to spawn renewed Beatlemania. Plans for a Fab Four of big screen movies, giving each band member their own biopic, and with the blessings of the Beatles empire.
This winter's mild weather may have a sweet side effect.
Maple syrup season has the potential to start early this year, and producers are now getting ready. CTV's Peter Sperling reports.
At Fulton Sugar Bush, a maple shop in Pakenham, Scott Dugo is preparing for what may be an early maple syrup season.
It's going to start running shortly.
He says it typically starts mid-March, but weather conditions potentially favorable for sap to run soon.
When you get those consistent warm above freezing days,
the sap will flow, and it will flow very well.
Producers are now getting ready. The rest is up to Mother Nature.
Just looking at the long-range forecast, I am expecting possibly in the first week of March, end of February, which we're coming up to, that the conditions are right. Cold at night, warm in the day, +6, +7.
While it may be weeks earlier than previous years, it isn't a record.
I think the earliest was February 22nd. The latest was March 29th that we've made syrup.
But some Ontario producers started their season even earlier, rushing at the beginning of February to get going with unseasonably warm temperatures.
It's crazy to believe our guys in the sugar bush are tapping without snowshoes. They're in running shoes tapping in the sugar bush. That's not usual for us.
40 buckets of sap, full of sap, makes 1 bucket of maple syrup.
At Fulton's, visitors here are learning and tasting what goes into making
the maple syrup,
with many looking forward to that sign of spring when sap is boiling.
It's just, sometimes you can get that smoky flavor with the maple syrup, and it just makes me feel like, yeah, I'm Canadian. I eat this.
Peter Sperling, CTV News.
One of the biggest songs in rock history is at the center of a criminal trial set to get underway.
On a dark desert highway, cool wind in my hair.
3 people are charged with trying to sell the handwritten lyrics to Hotel California and other hits by the Eagles. The defendants are a rare book dealer, a former Rock and Roll Hall of Fame curator, and a collectibles seller. They are accused of conspiring to own and sell the manuscripts without the right to do so. All 3 have pleaded not guilty. Eagles co-founder Don Henley is expected to testify.
Arguably the biggest rock band of all time is coming to the big screen in a Fab Four of movies.
Now and then, I miss you.
Each member of the Beatles will be featured in their own biopic. The stories of Paul McCartney, John Lennon, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr will be told in a quartet of films. Release plans will be announced at a later date, but Sony Pictures is looking at 2027.
After the break, a dramatic drop in Canada's inflation rate. What contributed to the more than expected decline, and might this change the timing of a Bank of Canada rate cut?
On the next CP24 Breakfast,
Kobe Calais has gone country for her new album, and she'll be right here on CP24 Breakfast to talk about it.
Of course, we're up first at 5:30.
Nothing in our investigation has shown that they are in any way affiliated to a gang or anything of that nature. They were completely and utterly innocent.
Updating our top stories, police have identified the victim of a fatal shooting in North York on Saturday as a 39-year-old father of 4. A 16-year-old boy remains in hospital after being shot in the same area on Friday. Police have released images of the suspect they believe is responsible for both shootings.
We are an economic powerhouse now because of our policies. $28 billion of EV investments, $20 billion of tech, life sciences $3 billion.
The Ford government says it's going to get it done as MPPs return to Queen's Park following a lengthy break. The province tabled an omnibus bill aimed at enforcing its priorities while battling the opposition, including new Ontario Liberal leader Bonnie Crombie.
We're not considered an emergency, so we can be put on the back burner. And like when our documents arrived there on Friday, they weren't even looked at.
A Canadian couple is demanding answers and assistance after a theft left them trapped in Turks and Caicos. Robbers made off with their passports, and they have yet to receive replacements from the Canadian government. In business, those looking for a break on high interest rates are getting some welcome news, with inflation easing more than expected. With more, here's Amber Canwar from B&M Bloomberg.
Inflation in Canada slowed significantly in January versus December and also came in at a lower pace than expected by economists. StatsCan said this morning the annual pace of inflation in January was 2.9%. Now, this is the first time inflation has dipped below 3% since June last year. It was driven by a drop in gasoline prices, but outside of that, we also saw a big drop in airfares, which fell nearly 24% from last month. Food inflation also eased. This should bring comfort to the Bank of Canada, which is expected to cut rates later this year. A huge takeover in the credit card industry has been announced this morning. Capital One has agreed to buy Discover Financial in a deal valued at $35.3 billion US. It's the biggest takeover ever in the credit card sector. Capital One will use its stock to pay for the deal. Capital One offers credit cards in Canada. Shares of Walmart rose to a fresh record high. Customers are still being lured by lower prices, and the discount retailer managed to grow sales and profit more than expected. Walmart is also expanding into advertising. It announced it's agreed to buy Vizio Holdings, a maker of smart televisions, for $2.3 billion US. The acquisition is expected to boost Walmart's advertising business. Let's take a look at some of the closing numbers. The Canadian dollar was flat at around 74 cents US. Oil prices down modestly to $77 per barrel, while Canadian oil prices up a little bit, around $60 per barrel. The TSX saw a down day, shedding nearly 40 points. From the BNN Bloomberg Newsroom in Toronto, I'm Amber Canmore.
The federal government is scaling back carbon price rebates for some Canadian businesses. The amount of money small and medium-sized businesses get is being reduced. Ottawa says the reason is so it can increase the amount rebated to rural families. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business insists businesses were already getting far less back than they pay. The government says it intends to return $623 million in carbon pricing revenues to businesses for the 2023-24 year.
Loblaw is expanding its empire at a cost of about $2 billion. Canada's largest grocery retailer plans to renovate 700 stores, relocate 10 others, and build more than 40 new discount locations. It also intends to introduce 140 new pharmacy care clinics across the country. The company owns the Loblaws, Shoppers Drug Mart, No Frills, Real Canadian Superstore, and TNT Banners.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
Tonight's cybercrime crackdown, taking down the world's most destructive ransomware crew.
We will identify you and hold you accountable.
Canada's role in the international operation to hack back. Later on CTV National News.
And a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight. And a special yes, y'all, to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
It's been the home of many cheers and more than its fair share of jeers over the years. From Air Canada Centre to Scotiabank Arena, the venue is marking its 25th anniversary.
More than 5,000 events and 80 million visitors later, one of Toronto's best-known buildings is opening its doors for the occasion. Here's CTV's Scott Lightfoot.
By Simmons, is this the dagger?
From the thrill of victory,
Nick Cousins scores! It's a series winner for Nick Cousins!
To the agony of defeat, to the sounds of success, there are no shortage of memorable moments from the first 25 years of Scotiabank Arena.
First time experiencing the playoffs here. It's nothing like that. Like with Jurassic Park outside and the way this arena fills up, that's by far one of my favorite memories of my whole career.
Matt scoring in Game 6 of the conference finals in 2002 with 21 seconds left to send it to overtime. I'd never felt this building as loud or move like it did at that particular moment.
What was then the Air Canada Centre opened on February 20th, 1999. Today, in a birthday party of sorts, fans got the chance to skate on the ice where the Maple Leafs play.
It's so cool. It's like looking up, everything's so big. Like, I don't know how they do it every night.
I just wanted to see what it's like to be on this. Obviously, you've been to different arenas and you skate all the time as a Canadian, every winter, but I wanted to see how it feels to be on the Leafs ice. So it's actually really cool.
And shoot around on the Raptors' in-house practice court.
It's a dream. I've only seen them on TV. I've not seen them live. I've seen them in the game, but I've never been on the actual court. It's awesome because this is probably not going to happen again, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Unless you make it to the Raptors.
True.
And the arena is already looking to the future, undergoing more than $350 million in upgrades and enhancements.
Next summer, we're really excited to renovate the entire 100-level concourse,
85 to 90% of fans would come through the 100 level, whether they're going to their seats at this level or going up to the 300 level.
All aimed at keeping the seats full for the next 25 years and beyond. Scott Lightfoot, CTV News.
Meanwhile, Morgan Riley will have to serve his full suspension. The Maple Leafs defenseman was banned for 5 games after cross-checking Senators forward Ridley Gregg in the head. Riley appealed the decision, but the commissioner decided to uphold the suspension. He met with Riley last week. Gary Bettman says the suspension almost certainly would have been longer if Riley did not have a clean record or if there had been an injury. Riley has sat out the last 4 games. He's eligible to return Thursday night in Vegas.
Get ready for it to be twice as warm as it was today tomorrow.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. Some people, of course, have liked the wintry conditions that we're experiencing. But yeah, milder air today. Let's take a look at our satellite and radar first. I can show you. There's not a lot to show you. Mostly clear skies through the overnight period. Really nice evening on the way. It is 1 degree right now. Feeling like 1 degree because winds are relatively light as we head through the overnight. -2 feeling like -4. That's the coolest we'll feel. Up to 7 tomorrow, increasing cloud, chance of showers in the afternoon and the evening. 7 again with showers on Thursday. And then watch that temperature fall like a stone to -14 by Friday overnight. So get ready for that.
All right. Thank you. Be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Natalie Johnson with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Michelle Jobin and all of us at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a good night.